Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to another English class here on verbling.com. My name is Lisa, and I'm one of the English teachers here on Verbling. And in this hour, we're going to be doing a reading class. So if you have a reservation for this class, you can go ahead and use that reservation now. You just click on the button where you have the reservation, and it will open up the Google Plus Hangouts, which is our classroom. And if you don't have a reservation, then if you just wait for about 2 minutes, you'll see the Join Class button. And then if you're a Verbling member or you have some tickets or something, then you can join the class. You can join Verbling classes at any time you want to come. But it's usually a good idea to try to get to a class at the beginning so that you can participate in the whole class and then know what's going on in the class. But if you can't always do that, then you can always come and just see what's happening in the class and then join and start participating in the class. So hi guys, hi Leonardo, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. You have a Seattle shirt on.
Sorry?
In your picture you have a shirt, a t-shirt on, and it says Seattle.
Oh yes, but I was in my town in Italy.
Okay, I'm commenting on it because I live about 2 hours from Seattle. I live in Washington State.
Okay.
So it's close to Seattle.
Yes.
Yeah, I go there. Excuse me. Okay, and okay, hi Amparo, you're back, and Araceli's back, and hi Michael. Hi Miguel.
Hello, Lisa. How are you?
Good. How are you? Long time no see.
Yes, hello, Tan. Yeah, I'm studying a lot. Sorry, my voice. Sorry.
Yeah.
A lot time with you. Don't see you, with you.
Yeah.
I'm studying a lot, but sometimes it's not possible to join.
Sure, I understand. It's always good to do stuff on your own as well. Come to class if you can, but if you can't, sometimes it's a good break to just read or listen to something, and then when you come to class, you can use what you've been learning. So it's good. It's all good. Okay, guys, so let me put in the screen share this article that I got, which is from the New York Times. Hi, Donato. The link is always on the bottom. So what I like to do for the reading classes that I do is I try to find something that would be interesting, hopefully, but you know, not everything is interesting to everybody. So I choose different topics and different levels of difficulty, usually at least intermediate to advanced. So if you don't understand all the words, that's okay. It's a good opportunity to be exposed to some different words, new vocabulary perhaps. Also, what I like about the reading class is not just the vocabulary, but you know, you're really using English when you're reading something, so you get to also practice the different grammatical structures. So you get to see how they're really used, so that later in your writing or in your speaking, you can start incorporating them, start using them as well into your own way that you speak and express yourself in English. So everybody can go to that link. You can do one of two things. You can go to the link and follow along, or you can make sure you're clicking on me in your Google Hangouts, and then if you click on me, you should be able to see the document, and you can read along in the screen here, in the video screen. Okay? And let me just say, Hiba, are you there? I didn't hear you in the last class, but I don't know if your microphone's not working or something. But for the reading class, if you want to read out loud, it's going to have to work. So just, you want to check it, see what's going on. Okay? All right, so the way I'll do this is we're going to read a little bit at a time. Sometimes I go through and break these up so we have a little bit for everybody to read. And we'll probably have enough to read a couple of different times. And when I'm reading out loud, that's a good chance for you to practice, your listening skills. You might even want to close your eyes and see if you can understand just by listening. If you don't want to do that, then you can just listen and read along. If you have your microphone muted, you could read along out loud, or you can just read along in your head, listening to how I'm pronouncing the words and trying to understand the best you can. And then after that, I'm going to have each student will take turns reading parts of this article, and then I'm going to go over some words. And if you have any questions at any time, you can interrupt me. It doesn't matter. You just unmute your microphone, ask me a question. I can explain something in a different way if you don't understand it. You can also type in the Verbling chat or the group chat as well. Okay? So the title is called Hello, Stranger, and it's written by these two people, Michael Norton and Elizabeth W. Dunn. So pretty simple title, hello, and stranger just means somebody you don't know, somebody who is not your friend, not your relative, you don't really know them. All right, so if you've ever been on a subway or a public bus, you know the rules. Don't make eye contact. Stay as far away from other people as the space allows. And for the love of God, don't talk to anyone. But what if the rules are wrong? Okay, why don't we start with Amparo today on that side. Amparo?
Okay. If you've ever been on a subway or public bus, you know the rules. Don't make eye contact. Stay as far away from other people as the space allows. And for the love of God, don't talk to anyone. But what if the rules are wrong?
Okay, so subway, you guys know, train underground. For example, like in New York City, they have a big subway system. Sometimes it's also called the metro or the train, or I think in London it's called the tube, and a public bus. So they're talking about the rules, the rules, the things that you're supposed to do or not do out in public when you're on these public transportation things. So don't make eye contact. So eye contact is when you look at somebody else and they look at you, so you're looking at each other. So some people say, that's rude, don't do that. Another thing is to, give people their space. That's what we say. Give somebody their space. So try to stay away from them. Don't try to get too close. So you want to give them space. And this is an expression, for the love of God. So that's the whole expression. It just means like, oh, and please don't do this other thing. So for the love of God, if you hear that, it just means like the person is saying, oh, please don't do this or do this. Like, oh, for the love of God, can we just leave already? It means like, we've been here a long time, can we just go, please? All right, so for the love of God, don't talk to anyone. All right, so what if these rules are wrong? What if they're not true? What if they're not, good? So this is what they're talking about in this article, how to behave with strangers. The behavioral scientists Nicholas Epley and Juliana Schroeder approached commuters in a Chicago area train station and asked them to break the rules. In return for a $5 Starbucks gift card, these commuters agreed to participate in a simple experiment during their train ride. Okay, hi there, Amir. You jumped in there. Hi, Emma, are you there? There you go.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, teacher.
Am I saying your name right, Amir?
Yes.
Okay. Are you ready to read? Because you're in line, right? You're the next one. This part right here.
Okay. The behavioral scientists Nicholas Epley and Juliana Schroeder approached commuters in a Chicago area train stations and asked them to break the rules. In return for a 500 Starbucks gift card, these commuters agreed to participate in a simple experiment during their train ride.
Good. So behavioral scientists, so that's the type of scientists that these people are, they study behavior, human behavior. What do people do in certain situations? So they approached commuters. That means if somebody approaches you, it means they come close to you to like they're going to talk to you. So they went over and they talked to commuters, so people who go to work by train, I guess, at this Chicago train station. A commuter is a person who commutes to work. So it means like probably you have at least like a 10, 15, 20-minute commute. Sometimes these days people commute even longer. The commute is when you go from your house to your work and then when you return home. All right, so they talked to these commuters and they asked them to break the rules, so to do the things they were not supposed to do. And in return, so if they do this, then as like a gift or like a payment, you could say, they're going to get a $5 Starbucks gift card. So that allows them to go to Starbucks and buy something for $5. A gift card. Nowadays, the gift cards are really popular in the United States. They look like credit cards, but you can take them to businesses. Every business or lots of businesses have their own gift cards. You can also buy them in stores like for iTunes or Amazon, things like that. Okay, so they agreed. So they said yes. To agree is to say yes. They wanted to participate in a simple, just a very easy, simple experiment. So like a test. They were going to do this during their train ride. One group was asked to talk to the stranger who sat down next to them on the train that morning. Other people were told to follow standard commuter norms, keeping to themselves. By the end of the train ride, commuters who talked to a stranger reported having a more positive experience than those who had sat in solitude. Okay, Araceli. And hi, Ali.
Hello.
Hi. You'll have your turn in a minute, but right now it's Araceli's turn. So Araceli, you want to read this one here? Whoops.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
One group was asked to talk to the stranger who sat down next to them on the train that morning. Other people were told to follow standard commuter norms, keeping to themselves. By the end of the train ride, commuters who talked to a stranger reported having a more positive experience than those who had sat in solitude.
Okay, so this was part of the experiment. So one group, so some people, they were supposed to talk to the stranger, so the person they don't know, who sat down next to them. So the person next to, so if you're paying attention to the prepositions, so when people sit down, they sit down next to you, okay? So they're supposed to talk to that person. The other people in the other group, they were told, so their instructions were to follow standard commuter norms. So they were supposed to follow the regular rules where you keep to yourself. So to keep to yourself means you be quiet. You don't talk to somebody. You don't look at them really. You just, listen to your iPod or you read a book or you just, be by yourself. So that is what it means to keep to yourself. So they kept to themselves. And so by the end of the train ride, those people who talked, they reported. Oops. That means they said that they had a more positive experience. So they had a better time. It was more positive. Positive versus negative. So positive is a good experience. They had a better experience than those who had sat in solitude. So to sit in solitude means just by yourself, not talking to anybody, just alone. If the idea of talking to a random seatmate fills you with dread, you're not alone. When Dr. Epley and Ms. Schroeder asked other people in the same train station to predict how they would feel after talking to a stranger, the commuters thought their ride would be more pleasant if they sat on their own. Okay, hi Bruno. Welcome.
Hi, Lisa. Thank
Hi.
you.
Okay, are you ready to
Hi.
read? You can read that one there.
Okay. If the idea of talking to a random seatmate fills you with dread, you're not alone. When Dr. Upley and Mrs. shooter asked other people in the same train station to predict how they would feel after talking to a stranger. The commuters thought their ride would be more pleasant if they sat on their own.
Yes. Okay. So I was writing in the chat, but I'll just say it. There is a question in the Verbling chat about what's the difference between a commuter and a passenger, and Araceli also answered it. So yes, a commuter is somebody who travels or goes from your every day to go to work. You have to like get in your car or on a bus or on a train, and you drive or you go in some type of transportation to work. Usually, you are a commuter. You might have a commute of 10 minutes up to half an hour or more. So you're traveling between your house and your job. But a passenger, that's just anybody. It could be a kid, it could be somebody going to the airport, it could be somebody just going on an errand. It's not specifically going to work and then coming back. So commuter is specifically for work. Okay? All right, so here we go. If the idea of talking to a random seatmate. So random just means like out of the blue. You don't know this person. It's just like you just come into the train, you sit down. The person next to you is your seatmate. So usually, in a train situation, you might have a room for two people to sit down together. That would be your seatmate. If this fills you with dread, so that's an expression. To fill you with dread means something terrifies you or it frightens you. You're afraid of it. So if this is something that you're afraid of, you're not the only one. You are not alone. Lots of people feel that same way. And they even asked people in the same train station to predict how they would feel. So to predict means like to guess, to think about the future and to say something about the future. So they said they would feel more pleasant, or they would feel better. Pleasant means nice. They would feel better if they sat on their own. So their prediction, what they think would happen in the future, is that it would be nicer to just be in solitude, by yourself, not talking to a stranger. So the question they asked, why are these commuters' predictions and their experience so at odds? Most people imagined it would be difficult to start a conversation. They estimated that fewer than half of their fellow commuters would want to talk to them. But in fact, not a person reported having been snubbed, and the conversations were consistently pleasant. Okay, Donato.
Okay. Why are these commuters' predictions and their experiences so at odds? Most people imagined it would be difficult to start a conversation. They estimated that fewer than half of their fellow commuters would want to talk to them. But in fact, not a single person reported having been snubbed, and the conversations were consistently pleasant. Should I read?
Nope, that's good.
Okay. Lisa, I'm not hearing you.
What happened?
Connection problem.
Surely Lisa is taking a coffee.
Oh, okay.
Went to the bar
Probably.
or the supermarket, I don't know. So, we are behaved as commuters now. Nobody is talking to one another. That's bad.
Yes, that's it. Because the teacher dropped off, so we are just looking, uh, just waiting, like if we were in the lift or in the bus.
Do you like people who approached you to talk on public transportation?
Well, I don't think I agree with the feelings of the people who were asked in the studio, because whenever I travel, I do the same thing. I mean, I don't want to talk to anyone, but maybe it's nice when somebody talks to you, but I don't feel like the desire to start a conversation. What about you?
About me?
Yes, you asked, so I'm asking you.
I always try to start a conversation by a joke. Um, I don't like to say like common things like, what kind of weather? I don't like to
Yeah.
talk about the weather. It's so I hate it. I hate common places. When I was in the States, everyone used to say, "Hey, how are you?" And they were not listening the answer. So I like actually to talk and to be listened, no?
Yes, you talk about the weather, nobody really cares, but sometimes you can find something and it's better than. Hello,
Okay.
Lisa, you're
Hi
back.
guys. I don't even know what happened. I was reading and all of a sudden you guys weren't there. So, did you hear me read this? It doesn't really matter.
No.
Okay.
No.
It doesn't matter. Let's have Leonardo read it because I just read it and we need to
Ah,
keep reading.
okay.
Sorry, I don't know what happened. Leonardo, go ahead.
Okay. According to 200, no, 2004 study published in Science, commuting is associated with further positive emotion than any other common daily activity. By avoiding contact, we are all following a collective assumption that turn out to be false. When the middle-aged woman starts playing Candy Crush Saga after she sits down next to the hipster sorry, can't read.
Can you see it?
No,
Oh, are you on an iPad or something maybe? Here.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
there you go.
Candy Crush Saga after she sit down next to hipster scrolling through his iTunes library. They both miss out on opportunity for connection.
Good. Okay, so according to a study, so I always say when we're reading these types of articles, according to means that this is what it says in this study. So according to this published story, published means where it's written. So there's a magazine called, excuse me, Science Magazine. Commuting, so that's the verb to commute, it is associated with. So there's like a relationship. People don't like it usually. So commuting is associated with fewer positive emotions than any other common daily activity. So common just means the other things that we do during our day. It's not usually something people like to commute, especially if it's long, and it kind of feels like a waste of time or something. So by avoiding contact, so if you avoid something, it means you don't do it, you don't want to do it. So in this case, you don't want to talk to somebody else. That's the contact. We are all following a collective assumption. So a collective assumption means a collective means a group. So all of us together. An assumption is something that we think is true. We assume, that's the verb, to assume that something is true, but it turns out to be, so you could say in actuality, it is really false. So we think that by avoiding contact, it will be better, we'll feel better, but in fact, that's not even true according to the research. So then they give the example here of a middle-aged woman who plays this game on her iPhone or something. She sits down next to this hipster, so like a hip young person, scrolling through his library, his iTunes library, scrolling, that's where you go up and down, you're looking for something. What's happening is they are both missing out on an opportunity for connection. So to miss out on something, that's a phrasal verb, to miss out on something means, you're losing a chance, an opportunity to do something. So in this case, it's for connecting to another person. So having that little bit of a relationship, which, according to the research, makes people feel better. Individuals and governments pour money into making commutes slightly more bearable by investing in everything from noise-canceling headphones to more spacious seating. But what if the research showed that we would improve our commutes more by investing in social capital, interacting with the strangers sitting all around us? Okay, Miguel. Right here.
Okay. Individuals and governments pour money into making commutes slightly more behavable by investing in everything from noise cancelling headphones to more spacious seating. But what is if the research showed that we would improve our commutes more by investing in social capital, interacting with the strangers sitting all around us?
Okay, so they pour money into. So that's another way of saying that they invest money. So they put money into, or they invest, they spend money trying to come up with things that help people have better commutes. So slightly, that means like a little bit more bearable. Bearable means like you can stand it, like to make it more pleasant. Or, bearable means like, oh, I don't really like this, but I have to do it, so I'm trying to just do it. I can bear it. That's the verb, to bear something. So, they come up with products like noise-canceling headphones. So if you're on a train, you just put your headphones on and you don't even hear everybody. Or more spacious seating. Spacious means more space. So you have more room, in the seat. So their question is, what if the research showed, what if it proved that what would be better would be to invest in social capital. So social always refers to like groups of people or interactions, relationships with people. And capital usually refers to the money that you're investing. But in this case, it just means investing in things that would help people be more social, would talk to each other, that kind of thing. Interacting just means like talking, connecting with them in that way. So maybe it would be better if they would help people do that, because it's been shown to be more positive. Okay. The great thing about strangers is that we tend to put on our happy face when we meet them, reserving our crankier side for the people we know and love. When one of us, Liz, was in graduate school, she noticed that her boyfriend, Benjamin, felt free to act grumpy around her. Okay, Sophia.
The great thing about strangers is...
Sorry.
I can't see.
Sorry, I went up too far.
Is that we tend to put on our happy face when we meet them, reserving our crankier side for the people we know and love. When one of us, Liz, was in graduate school, she noticed that her boyfriend, Benjamin, felt free to act grumpy around her.
Yeah. Okay, so the great thing about, so the good thing or the great thing is that we tend to put on our happy face. So when we use that phrase, we tend to do something, it means that's what we often do. So you could also say the great thing about strangers is that we often put on our happy face. It's what we usually do. So we tend to put on our happy face, our smiley face, when we meet people. So when we meet strangers, we go, oh, hi, yes, how are you? Okay, but we reserve, so that means we leave our crankier side. Crankier means like grumpy, when you don't feel so good. You come home and you say, ah, yeah, I had a terrible day. That's how we talk to the people we love, the people we know and love. And then they give an example of that when they were in graduate school. So after graduating with a bachelor's degree, you go to graduate school if you want. She noticed, so to notice something means she realized that her boyfriend, he felt free. To feel free to do something means you feel like it's okay. So you feel free, you're uninhibited to act grumpy. So grumpy or cranky or like, complaining around her. So, he was nicer to other people and he was grumpier around her. But if he was forced to interact with a stranger or acquaintance, he would perk right up. Then his own pleasant behavior would often erase his bad mood. One of the perks of being a behavioral scientist is that when your partner does something annoying, you can bring dozens of couples into the laboratory and get to the bottom of it. Okay. So let's see. A couple people fell out. All right. There's Amparo. It's your turn again.
But if he was forced to interact with a stranger of acquaintance, he would perk right up. Then his own pleasant behavior would often erase his bad mood. One of the perks of being a behavioral scientist is that when your partner does something annoying, you can bring dozens of couples into the laboratory and get to the bottom of it.
Okay, good. All right, so here's the hypothetical situation. So if he was forced to interact, so if, at some point in the past he had to, so to be forced to means you have to do that. So if he had to interact with, that's the preposition we use, to interact with somebody like a stranger or an acquaintance. So an acquaintance is somebody you know, but they're not really your friend. You just know them. Maybe they're in a class with you or you met them once or twice, but you're not really friends. You just know each other from somewhere. He would perk right up. So to perk right up means like, to perk up means to feel better, to be pleasant, to be friendly. And to perk right up means he did it quickly. So to perk up is to feel better and to like be smiley, but to do it right away means very quickly. So as soon as somebody he saw, oh, hi, how are you doing? Even if he was complaining to her, So this, she describes pleasant behavior, nice behavior, would often erase. So to erase, you think of like a chalkboard and you erase the chalk, it gets rid of. So he would turn into being happy. It would get rid of his bad mood when he was feeling grumpy. One of the perks, a perk is like a benefit, like a good thing, something that you get to do specially. So one of the perks of being a behavioral scientist is that when your partner, so your boyfriend or your girlfriend, if they do something annoying, something that is irritating to you, you can bring in dozens of couples into a laboratory and get to the bottom of it. So of course in the laboratories where they do the tests, the experiments, and when you're doing an experiment, you're getting to the bottom of something. You're trying to figure it out. So when somebody says we have to get to the bottom of this, it means we have to understand what is happening. Why is this happening? So Donato, when you are investigating a police case, then you're trying to get to the bottom of it. It means you're trying to figure out exactly what happened, to the victim or something like that. When Liz tested her hypothesis in a lab experiment, she discovered that most people showed the Benjamin effect. They acted more cheerful around someone they had just met than around their own romantic partner, leaving them happier than they expected. Okay, Bruno, your turn.
Okay. Um, when Liz tested her hypothesis in a lab experiment, she discovered that most people showed the Benjamin effect. They acted more cheerful around someone they had just met than around their unromantic partner, leaving them happier than they expected.
Hmm. So to test your hypothesis, that's like what they do when they're doing scientific studies. Your hypothesis is like your educated guess. So based on information you have, you say, I believe this is going to happen. So then they test the hypothesis, what really happens. And now they called it the Benjamin effect. And so basically you act or you behave more cheerful, more happy, happier, more pleasant around somebody that you just meet or that you have just met than around your own romantic partner. So your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your spouse. You're friendlier to a stranger. And when you do this, you are left feeling happier than you expected, than you thought would happen. So it has a positive effect that way. Many of us assume, however, that our well-being depends on our closest ties and not on the minor characters in our daily lives. To investigate the validity of this assumption, our student Gillian M. Sandstrom asked people to keep a running tally of their social interactions. Okay, Donato?
Many of us assume, however, that our well-being depends on our closest ties, and not on the minor characters in our daily lives. To investigate the validity of this assumption, our student Gillian M. Sandstrom asked people to keep a running tally on their social interaction.
Mm-hmm. So many of us assume, so there's the the verb to assume. This assumption is the noun. So we think we know what's going to happen. We assume that our well-being, so our well-being is how we feel, if you feel good or not. And we think it depends on. So it depends on means, that's what makes us happy. We think that it matters who we're talking to. And so usually we think we have to be interacting with the people who are closest to us, our closest ties. Tie is like a connection. You think of like tying your shoe or something, it keeps your shoe on, so it keeps you together. These close ties would be like your friends you've had, friends for a long time friends, your partners, your family, your siblings, relatives, things like that. And not the minor characters. The minor characters, that's kind of in a reference to like a movie or a book. People you don't really know very well, you don't see very often. Those are minor people in your life, in your daily life. But they wanted to investigate or to just, make a study of the validity of this assumption. So the validity means, is it valid? Is it true? This is what we think, but is it really true? So they asked people to keep a running tally of. So to keep a running tally, a tally is when you mark like a check mark, like, okay, here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, and you keep track of it like on a piece of paper maybe. In this case, they had them carrying around these clickers. So this morning I talked to somebody on the train, then I talked to somebody at the store. You're keeping a record of it. She had them carry clickers, one red, one black, in their pockets all day. They clicked the red one whenever they interacted with someone close to them, a strong tie, and the black one whenever they interacted with someone they didn't know so well, a weak tie. She found that introverts and extroverts alike felt happier on days when they had more social interactions. Okay. Oh, Erza, you came in. Is your microphone working? Is this Cynthia or I don't know. Erza? I don't hear you, so maybe it's not working. How about Leonardo? Why don't you read and maybe she'll
Yes, of course.
Get it to work.
And
Thank you.
She had them carry clickers, one red, one black, in their pockets all day. They clicked the red one whenever they interact with someone close to them, as a strong tie, and the black one whenever they interacted with someone they didn't know so well, a weak tie. She found that introverts and extroverts alike felt happier on days when they had more social interaction.
Hmm. All right, so she had a clicker is something you just click. You know, who knows what it really looks like, but one was red, one was black. They carried them in their pockets all day. So, you know, in your pants, you have pockets where you can put things. That's what a pocket is, where you put stuff. And they clicked the red one whenever. So, whenever or just when they interacted with someone close to them. So, that's called a strong tie. You feel close to that person, like your mom or your dad, your siblings, something like that. And then a black one when they interacted with someone they didn't know so well. So, you know, maybe you know them but not well, or maybe it's a complete stranger. And that's a weak tie. So not a strong tie, a weak. It's the opposite. And she found that the introverts, so people who tend to prefer to have more alone time, versus even introverts and extroverts. Extroverts are people who usually like to be around people alike. So both people, both types of people felt happier when they had more social interactions. More surprisingly, let me break this here. More surprisingly, interactions with weak ties correlated at least as highly with happiness as interactions with strong ties. Even the bit players in our lives may influence our well-being. In a recent study, we recruited people on their way into a busy Starbucks with a $5 gift card. Okay, Miguel.
More surprisingly, interaction with weak ties correlated at least as high with happiness as interaction with strong ties. Even the big players in our lives might influence our well-being. In a recent study, we recruited people on their way into a busy Starbucks with a 5 gift card.
Okay, more surprisingly. So if you use the word surprisingly, it means, you know, it was a surprise to you. So it was surprising to find that even when you interact with weak tie people, so people you don't know, that they correlated that. So in studies, they use that word there's a correlation. So this happens and then this happens. There's some type of a relationship or a correlation. They correlated interactions with weak ties as they correlated it with at least as highly with happiness. So that another way to say that means that people who interacted with weak ties were just almost as happy interacting with them as they were with the stronger ties, with the people that they knew better. So it was, you know, pretty even almost, you could say. Even the bit players. So bit just means the small players in our lives. So people that we don't really know very well. They don't play a big part in our lives, but they do influence our well-being. So they, you know, can help us feel better. So in a recent means the study happened recently, or maybe, you know, that could be like in the last few months or something like that. They recruited people. So to recruit is the verb, and that means that you gather up people. You go to people, and they're coming into a busy, you know, Starbucks. Busy means there's lots of people, lots of customers. They're going to walk into Starbucks, and you're going to give them a $5 gift card. And so they're going to tell them what to do to get their card. We asked some customers to have a genuine interaction with the cashier, smiling and having a brief conversation. Others were told to be as efficient as possible. Get in, get out, go on with the day. Those who lingered left Starbucks feeling more cheerful. Efficiency, it seems, is overrated. Okay, Sophia, and then Cynthia after that.
We asked some customers to have a genuine interaction with the cashier, smiling and having a brief conversation. Others were told to be as efficient as possible. get in, get out, go on with the day. Those who lingered left Starbucks feeling more cheerful. Efficiency, it seems, is overrated.
Okay, good. All right, so we asked some customers to have a genuine interaction. Genuine means like a real, something real, not a fake. So you don't want to just be fake about it or just kind of like not honest. You want to be genuine. Okay, so with the cashier is the person who takes your money, takes your order and your money. And then the other people, a brief. Brief means short. So they were told to have a short or a brief conversation with the cashier. Other people were told to be as efficient as possible. So to just, make your order and get out and move on with your day. Don't stay talking to the cashier. And they found, so their findings were that the people who lingered, to linger, that's the verb to linger, means to like spend time, to talk, oh, how's it going, how's your day, oh yeah, something like that. They left feeling more cheerful. Cheerful is happy. They were happier when they left the Starbucks. Their conclusion here says efficiency, so being really efficient, doing things with a lot of good timing and not wasting time, is overrated. So people think it's better than it is. It's not really that good. Okay, let me move that down a little bit. Even fleeting glances, I'm going to break it up here. Even fleeting glances can make a difference. Many of us have had the experience of what the Germans call wie Luft behandeln, to be looked at as through air. The social norm of avoiding eye contact seems harmless, but it might not be. Okay, Cynthia.
Okay. Even fleeting glances can make a difference. Many of us have had the experience of what the Germans call "wie Luft behandeln," to be looked at as through air.
Mm-hmm.
The social norm of avoiding eye contact seems harmless, but it might not be.
Mm-hmm. Good. So a fleeting glance. So if something is fleeting, that means it just happens very quickly. And a glance is when you look at somebody. So if somebody looks at you just for like a second, even that can make a difference. So that could be something positive. And so the Germans, I guess, have something that talks about that, to be looked at as through air. So somebody just looked at you. They weren't really staring at you, but there was some kind of contact there. So the social norm, a social norm is what you think people should do, how they should interact with each other. And they're saying the social norm of avoiding eye contact seems harmless. Harmless means like it doesn't do any harm. It doesn't hurt anybody. It's not that big a deal. But maybe that's not true. So maybe, we should, I imagine they're saying we should have eye contact with people. In an experiment conducted at a large Midwestern university, a college-age woman walked by people on campus and either made eye contact, smiled at them while making eye contact, or directed her gaze beyond the ear of the passerby, deliberately avoiding eye contact. She was trailed by another researcher who surveyed people in her wake. Okay, Miguel.
Okay. In an experiment conducted at a large Midwestern university, a college-age woman walked by people on campus and either made eye contact, smiled at them while making eye contact, or directed her gaze beyond the ear of the passerby, deliberately avoiding eye contact. He was trailed by another researcher who surveyed people in her wake.
Okay, good. All right, so when you conduct an experiment, that means you just perform or do the experiment, so to conduct. Let's see, a couple words here. She smiled at them while making eye contact. Directed her gaze. So to direct means that's where you move your what you're doing. Like you can direct your gun or something like that. It's the position there where you put it. so she directed her gaze. Her gaze is where she's looking. When you're gazing at something, it's mean you're looking at something. So she kind of put it beyond their ear. The passerby is somebody who is passing you by, somebody who is walking past you. And she was deliberately, so on purpose, that's what she was trying to do. She was trying to avoid eye contact. She was trailed by. So to be trailed by means somebody else is following you. So a researcher was following her and surveying. So to survey means like to study them, to figure out what were the people like who she was passing. So in her wake means she walks by these people, and the researcher, they pass her. So her wake is like all the people she's passing. So what do those people look like afterwards? Those who were looked at as though they weren't there reported feeling more disconnected from others. Simply acknowledging strangers on the street may alleviate their existential angst, and being acknowledged by others might do the same for us. All right, I'll keep general. All right, yeah. So those, Sophia?
Those who were looked at as though they weren't there reported feeling more disconnected from others. Simply acknowledging strangers on the street may alleviate their existential angst, and being acknowledged by others might do the same for us.
Okay. So yeah, so they basically the people that she didn't look at at all, like she was avoiding them, they felt more disconnected. So they didn't feel connected, they didn't feel close. It was not a positive feeling. So simply acknowledging strangers just means just by nodding to them, noticing them, acknowledging that you see them, that may alleviate. Alleviate means to help with something like a pain or something, to let them have less pain. But in this case, it's their existential angst, just their problems in their life. The angst is like their frustrations. Just if somebody smiles at you, that can make you feel better. That's what they're saying. One caveat. So a caveat is something like you have to take into consideration. Another set of studies has shown that people are motivated to flee from strangers who stare at them intently. So you don't want to make it look like you're staring at them. The benefits of connecting with others also turn out to be contagious. Dr. Epley and Ms. Schroeder found that when one person took the initiative to speak to another in a waiting room, both people reported having a more positive experience. Okay, Amparo. All this part here.
One Quebec, another set of studies has shown that people are motivated to flee from strangers who stare at them intently. The benefit of connecting with others also turned out to be contagious. Dr. Ipley and Ms. Schroeder found that when one person took the initiative to speak to another in a waiting room, both people reported having a more positive experience.
So to take initiative just means to start. You're the person who starts to do something. So if some person just starts talking, then the other person enjoys it. So they both report having a more positive experience. Far from annoying people by violating their personal bubbles, reaching out to strangers may improve their day too. Rather than fall back on our erroneous belief in the pleasures of solitude, we could reach out to other people. Okay, Cynthia.
Okay. Far from annoying people by violating their personal bubbles, reaching out to strangers may improve their day too. Rather than fall back on our erroneous belief in the pleasures of solitude, we could reach out to other people.
So basically, far from annoying people, so it means it doesn't annoy people. Far from it means it's not going to annoy people if we supposedly violate. Violate means to go into somebody's space. A personal bubble is your space that you like to have around you. And so to reach out to strangers, it means to reach out just means to like connect with somebody, to say hi, how are you, what's your name? You're reaching out to somebody. It may improve their day. rather than fall back on. So, to fall back on means to go back on this erroneous belief, a mistaken belief that, it's better, it's more pleasurable to be in solitude or by yourself. We could reach out to other people. At least when we walk down the street, we can refuse to accept a world where people look at one another as through air. When we talk to strangers, we stand to gain much more than the me time we might lose. Okay, Miguel.
At least when we walk down the street, we can refuse to accept a world where people look at the one another as two guys. When we talk to strangers, we stand to gain much more than the me time we might lose.
Good. All right, so basically, if you're walking down the street, maybe it would be better for both of you to say hi to somebody. That's what it basically means. And we stand to gain. So that's an expression. If you stand to do something, it means you have the possibility. So we have the opportunity to gain, to get much more than the me time that we might lose. So, Sophia, we have just a minute left, and you didn't get to read last, but I'm going to ask you a question. Do you like to talk to strangers, like on a train or a bus or something like that?
Personally, no, because there was a period that I traveled a lot. It could be dangerous. If you are in train, yes, because you are with other passengers, and train can give you more. I don't know how to say, more secure than other ways to move. For example, buses or underground.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, maybe if you feel safe, you can say hi. Then it might be fun to talk. But does anybody else want to say anything before we finish? Our time is just ending. So about the article or about talking to strangers, that kind of thing?
Well,
No?
I can answer if someone else try to talk to me, but I never start the conversation.
You don't start, yeah.
No.
Yeah. Sometimes I start. Yeah. It depends, I guess.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good also, I think.
Yeah, I think you probably have to figure out if you feel safe and if that person looks maybe interesting to you, like maybe somebody you might have something in common with, something like that. But it's interesting, yeah. Okay, guys, thanks for coming to the class and reading. Lots of good vocabulary in there if you want to go over it again, if there are things you didn't understand or something. But otherwise, I'll see you another time. Thanks for coming.
Thank teacher.
Thank
Take care.
you.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Fine, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. You have a Seattle shirt on.
Sorry?
In your picture, you have a T-shirt on, and it says Seattle.
Oh yes, but I was in my town in Italy.
Okay, I'm commenting on it because I live about 2 hours from Seattle. I live in Washington State.
Okay.
So it's close to Seattle.
Yes.
Yeah, I go there. Excuse me. Okay, hi, Amparo, you're back, and Araceli's back, and hi, Michael. Hi, Miguel.
Hello, Lisa. How are you?
Good. How are you? Long time no see.
Yes, hello, yeah, I'm studying a lot. Sorry, my voice. Sorry.
Yeah.
A lot time with you, don't see with you.
Yeah.
I'm studying a lot, but sometimes it's not possible to join.
Sure, I understand. It's always good to do stuff on your own as well. Come to class if you can, but if you can't, sometimes it's a good break to just read or listen to something, and then when your own way that you speak and express yourself in English. So everybody can go to that link. You can do one of two things. You could go to the link and follow along, or you can make sure you're clicking on me in your Google Hangouts, and then if you click on me, you should be able to see the document, and you can read along in the screen here, in the video screen. Okay? And let me just say, Hiba, are you there? I didn't hear you in the last class, but I don't know if your microphone's not working or something. But for the reading class, if you want to read out loud, it's going to have to work. So just, you want to check it, see what's going on. Okay? All right, so the way I'll do this is we're going to read a little bit at a time. Sometimes I go through and break these up so we have a little bit for everybody to read. And we'll probably have enough to read a couple of different times. And when I'm reading out loud, that's a good chance for you to practice, your listening skills. You might even want to close your eyes and see if you can understand just by listening. If you don't want to do that, then you can just listen and read along. If you have your microphone muted, you could read along out loud, or you can just read along in your head, listening to how I'm pronouncing the words and trying to understand the best you can. And then after that, I'm going to have each student will take turns reading parts of this article, and then I'm going to go over some words. And if you have any questions at any time, you can interrupt me. It doesn't matter. You just unmute your microphone, ask me a question. I can explain something in a different way if you don't understand it. You can also type in the Verbling chat or the group chat as well. Okay? So the title is called Hello, Stranger, and it's written by these two people, Michael Norton and Elizabeth W. Dunn. So pretty simple title, hello, and stranger just means somebody you don't know, somebody who is not your friend, not your relative, you don't really know them. All right, so if you've ever been on a subway or a public bus, you know the rules. Don't make eye contact. Stay as far away from other people as the space allows. And for the love of God, don't talk to anyone. But what if the rules are, you come to class, you can use what you've been learning. So it's good. It's all good. Okay, guys, so let me put in the screen share this article that I got, which is from the New York Times. Hi, Donato. The link is always on the bottom. So what I like to do for the reading classes that I do is I try to find something that would be interesting, hopefully, but not everything is interesting to everybody. So I choose different topics and different levels of difficulty, usually at least intermediate to advanced. So if you don't understand all the words, that's okay. It's a good opportunity to be exposed to some different words, new vocabulary perhaps. Also, what I like about the reading class is not just the vocabulary, but you're really using English when you're reading something, so you get to also practice the different grammatical structures. So you get to see how they're really used, so that later in your writing or in your speaking, you can start incorporating them, start using them as well into. Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to another English class here on Verbling.com. My name is Lisa, and I'm one of the English teachers here on Verbling. And in this hour, we're going to be doing a reading class. So if you have a reservation for this class, you can go ahead and use that reservation now. You just click on the button where you have the reservation, and it will open up the Google Plus Hangouts, which is our classroom. And if you don't have a reservation, then if you just wait for about 2 minutes, you'll see the Join Class button. And then if you're a Verbling member or you have some tickets or something, then you can join the class. You can join Verbling classes at any time you want to come. But it's usually a good idea to try to get to a class at the beginning so that you can participate in the whole class and then know what's going on in the class. But if you can't always do that, then you can always come and just see what's happening in the class and then join and start participating in the class. So hi guys, hi Leonardo, how are you?
I'm